no one sits there and thinks, hey, my dad's gonna die in a month even though he survived fucking cancer.
Hey, I'm Zainab.
And I'm Mia.
And welcome to another episode of Sprinkles and Spice.
And let's talk about our dead dads.
Let's do it.
So I think for anyone that's been watching, we've mentioned the fact that we've lost our dads quite often.
We're so awkward. Like it's a tough episode, I think. Yeah. But yeah, like you said, like if for people who've been watching, we do mention that we both lost our dads.
I call it the Dead Dad Girl Club.
Dead Dad Girl Club. Also the title of this episode. And today we're gonna get into it.
Yeah, we want to sort of talk about how it feels as a girl to lose your dad, especially as an Arab girl.
Yeah.
And we just want to get into, I guess, the highs, the lows, and
Are there highs?
there are definitely highs to the growth.
Yeah.
You know, I think, yes, it's a big low. It's the biggest low of my life so far.
Of course. Yeah.
I would be lying if I didn't say that you don't come out of it with some sort of high. You know, you mature and you grow up.
Yeah. So it is a bit of a deep episode.
It's a downer.
It's
a big downer.
We're going to try not to make it a big downer, but I mean, it is going to be an emotional episode for both of us. There will be tears, maybe, possibly.
I think we need a tissue box.
I don't know. Do we have tissues? We're going to need a tissue box. All right. So let's get into it. Before we start, actually, do you want to...
Did you check in?
Let's do a check-in.
Yeah. How has January been so far for you?
It's been nice. I feel hopeful about this year. I don't want to eat my words, you know. Like 2020. Remember when everybody was like so excited for 2020? They're like 2020, and then it was the worst year ever. So I'm just like, okay, you know, this. I think the numbers of the year are also like, there's something like about the numbers of the year.
Isn't it a leap year? And every time it's a leap year, there's a musiba. A musiba means like a
tragedy.
A tragedy.
God, please don't put that out there. You're already the manifesting queen, and now you're going to manifest a horrific tragedy.
It's a leap year, so something crazy is going to happen. It's just how it is. It's just, I don't make the rules.
Anyways, but yeah, I've been a bit hopeful. I feel like January has had so many epiphanies because like 2023, it was like a year of healing. And then January, it's like epiphany. Like, you know what I mean?
We've had so many phone calls already, like feeling like, oh my God, we really discovered something.
Yeah. What is your favorite thing so far about January?
I don't know if I have a favorite thing. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's kind of been a tough month for me. Usually I'm excited about January. Like I'm always like, okay, new year. What am I gonna do? Like, how is this year gonna be different?
Yeah.
This year, I think I don't know. Mentally, I came to the realization that I felt quite sad about a lot of things, and so yeah.
Therefore, we're doing this episode.
Yeah, therefore, let's get even sadder.
Let's get sadder.
I think let's start with the fact that we both grew up quite sheltered, which I think, at least for me, made a huge difference as to how I took my dad's passing.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, I lost my dad in 2020 to COVID. He was ill with cancer again, but essentially COVID is what, took his life.
So how do you feel like you were sheltered though?
Because my dad, even though he was sick, and wow, it's very hard to talk about. I just realized.
Yeah.
I don't even talk about this with my friends. Oh, wow.
Okay.
I was sheltered because even though my dad was sick, my dad was very much the life of the party. He was a fighter.
Yeah.
He would never tell me I knew his age, but when I'd be like, so dad, how old are you? Now on every birthday, like you want to be like, you want to be funny because he's older. 25. How old are you?
Aww.
Yeah. So, and he was the first to wake up, would literally barge in my room. It's like 6 a.m. He's like, Yalla, wake up, watch the news with me. Like, and then if I'm not up by 8, it would send him, like if I didn't have school, like, honestly in college, I took all the afternoon classes. I did not want to be up in the morning. He'd barge, he's like, the day's gone. Let's go for breakfast. Let's do this. Like he was very like, I'm fine. And my parents were very protective of me. Like they didn't show me the harsh realities of life at all. I think the harsh realities of life hit me after my dad's passing. You know, it was very like rose tinted glasses, you know?
Yeah.
He used to be like, I'm not going to die before 100. So there was this sort of, my dad's sick and I have to make the most of every moment. But he's saying he's not going to die before 100 because his dad died at 100 and something. That I'm like, I still have time with my dad. Even though I logically know that maybe not. But you know what I mean? It was, I just realized like there is such a duality to how I was raised.
Yeah.
How were you raised? How were you sheltered?
So for me, I feel like I never in a million years thought that my dad would get cancer. That was the biggest shock. So the way I feel like I grew up sheltered, because like I told you, like looking back at it now in hindsight, it felt like we were a perfect family. You know, I have 3 siblings and we'd always do like family activities. We were very close knit, super close knit, you know, even though my brothers went to the US to study. I feel like just my parents protected us from a lot of things. They like provided us with a lot of like comforts and I feel like I just wasn't like aware of like a lot of the things that people went through, the struggles. You know what I mean? Like that's what it was. Like I was telling you, like it felt like we were a perfect family.
Were you not aware that you had money?
Yeah. I really was not aware of like what I had at the time, like how comfortable we were, just a lot of things that like, you know, my dad took care of, we didn't really know about. And then like when he was diagnosed with cancer, that just was like the rug was pulled from underneath you, where you realize like, oh, it's happening. You know what I mean? Like he was diagnosed with glioblastoma stage 4, which is brain cancer. And I remember I was in so much denial that when I had the what do you call it? The biopsy, the diagnosis, I couldn't even look at it. And my mom gave it to me. She was like, I need you to go make a copy of this. And my cousin was with me and she read it. And then she Googled glioblastoma stage 4. And she was like, Zainab, this is bad. And I was like, I don't want to hear about it. Don't stop. I was like, just don't tell me. And then I think when I was ready, I started researching. And then it said like that there's a very low, because it's a terminal illness. And it's rapid. It really like, because it's not like a tumor that you can remove. It's kind of like it branches into the brain. And it really like, it kind of felt like he was like, it took him away from us like piece by piece, you know what I mean? And it's so ironic because I used to always say my dad is the smartest man I know. And for the cancer to specifically be like brain cancer, you know what I mean? And he was a fighter though. Like the average survival rate I think was a year. And then there was obviously an exception where there was this man who survived like 16 years on glioblastoma, but I don't think it was like a stage 4. So, you know, we were kind of hopeful, but he survived 2 years and his last year was not good. Like I remember like seeing him slowly like change right in front of my eyes. And then towards the end, he started developing dementia. And that was the toughest part. And I remember like I struggled with it a lot, like dealing with seeing him, you know, go through it. And I remember I used to say like, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy to see your father, like especially because my dad, I told you he was the eldest of his siblings. And he was very like, he was such a respected man, you know what I mean? And
For those who don't know, Allah yarhamu,
Allah yarhamah.
Uncle Sammy was a doctor.
Yeah. He was an environmental consultant, and he also did work with the UNDP, and he did a lot for the environmental community here. So he was very prominent in that area. It was hard to kind of see it attack his brain. I don't know, like it was just really, really tough watching him slip into it slowly, and then towards the end he would go in and out of comas, and sometimes I would look at him and I feel like he was trapped in there. Like it's so weird, you know, like especially his cancer, and when we did take him to the States to get treatment. And I remember one time my sister was telling me he said something mean to her, and she left the room crying, and one of the nurses told her, she was like, sweetie, you know, this is why they call it the mean cancer. It makes them mean. So he did have moments where he would be mean and he doesn't remember it.
When you're in your 20s and your dad is sick, and I think, you know, death is so... No one teaches you about death. You know, your parents don't talk to you enough about death.
Especially with your parents. Like, you don't think, like...
No, you know they're going to die.
But not that soon. Like, I was 27 when my dad was diagnosed.
Which is so young, because I don't think... I mean, again, we're not really taught about cancer. Like, whenever I thought of my parents dying, I still would think, like, oh, they're going to die of old age, and I'm going to be older, and I'm going to have a family.
Exactly.
And I'm going to be so grown that I will not expect it, but I'll be more prepared for it. Yeah. I think because we lost our dads in our 20s to illness, it's quite cruel. And in saying that, I have one of my best friends lost her dad in a car accident in her 20s. Yeah. I have one who, a heart attack. Actually, most of my close friends who are that can be really close to me, they have lost either their mom or their dad. Yeah. Because it changes you.
It does. It changes you a lot. And that's why I think a lot of my friends as well. And I think that's something that also allowed us to connect on a deeper level, is because, like, if you haven't lost a parent, like you just, I hate to say it, but you won't get it. You know what I mean?
No, it's exactly that. It's a level of grief that's so profound that it put my whole life into perspective, and it made me feel like every single thing I would worry about or was sad about or would get annoyed with is so menial in reality, you know. And I really do mean that. That's exactly how it is.
That's literally what I remember telling my sister Fatma. I was like, you know, like after he got diagnosed and then like he passed, I remember I was telling her, like, every single problem that I had before just seems so trivial. Like, it's so silly, and like everything that I used to worry about before just seems so petty right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It puts such a distance between, I think, us and the people who haven't lost a parent. Yeah. Because things change. Like, you do change as a person. I'm sure I calculate my life in pre-dad dying, post-dad dying. You know how different I was. And I think you get pushed into sort of a role that is so much bigger than yours, you know. And in saying that, I mean, again, one of my really close friends lost her mom to suicide, and she was 11. And when you speak to her, you realize, whoa, you are so old, because facing death in such a violent way at such a young age, it changes you. So
it forces you to grow.
Yeah. So I feel like my 20s were a little bit robbed, you know? Yeah. I mean, they still are being robbed right now. Yeah. But it's...
I mean, I say the same, because I was 23 when I got married, 26 got divorced. A few months later, my dad gets diagnosed with cancer. You know what I mean?
So 23 going on 45.
Yeah, literally. And my dad passed a month before my 29th birthday. Exactly a month before my 29th birthday. So I was in my Saturn return. Yeah. And I don't know, like, I did not take it. I was a different person. Like, I told you this, we talk about it all the time. If for those of you who don't know, me and Mia, like, maybe every week we'll have a moment where we talk about our dead dads and cry and have a cry sesh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so healing though, because
It
it's
keeps
like,
them alive. Zainab, I feel like I got to know Uncle Sammy through you. And I feel so fond of a man that I've never met, because every time you speak of him, oh my God, we're both crying, guys. Every time you speak of your dad, I feel like I know him too. And I think the fact that you kept his memory alive and you're honoring his memory in such a beautiful way is truly magical. And I think anyone who's lost a parent, I know how hard it is.
yeah.
And Zainab knows how hard it is to talk about that parent. But you have to.
Yeah.
Because you really keep him alive. I feel like I met him. I feel like I've heard him laugh.
Yeah.
I've never heard this man's voice, but I feel like I know what his laugh sounds like.
I know. And it's the same with
you.
with your dad. Like, I feel like both of us like feel like we've met each other's dads. But I would say, like, growing up sheltered and then losing a parent, like, I'm sure you know as well, it's one of the toughest things to go through, because all of a sudden, all of these challenges that you were not prepared for, you have to go through, and you're kind of forced to go through them like right now. It's not like, oh, I'll just save this struggle for another day when I'm ready. Like, you can't prepare yourself for something like that. So
you can't. And society doesn't prepare you.
No. And not just that, like, I think one thing that I realized when my dad passed is who your real friends and family are.
Oh, yes.
Like, even family.
Oh, yes.
Like, it really opened my eyes to which members of my family I could really count on, and the ones that were just like, no.
Anyways, I think something that is maybe not talked about enough in that realm is definitely the impact of losing your dad as an Arab woman.
Yeah.
That the dad's place in the girl's life is incredibly important, even after she becomes 18, even after she's like a grown woman. For us at least, when a man wants to marry us, they have to go to our dads. Like, it's still like, it's impossible to get married for most people if that's not the case. And
until you get married, like, your dad has to be
responsible for you.
Yeah.
And legally speaking also, like, we're still so, as women, intertwined with our dads, that not having your dad, at least as an Arab girl, it really feels like I had no one to lean on, because a dad to us is a dhahr, which means a back.
Yeah.
And it feels like all of a sudden my backbone is gone. Like, when I used to cry, I'd call my dad. When I'd freak out the night before an exam, it's my dad that I would chat to. It's my dad that would comfort me, because it felt like, oh my God, he's just the most confident man in the world. He's so secure.
And it's as simple as like even taking your car to the garage, you know what I mean? Or like just basic things.
I will do anything like that. Like, I didn't have to do anything. It's such a spoiled brat thing.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I told you. Like, I realized, like, after I lost my dad, I realized how spoiled I was. Yeah. When he was alive, I had a job, I was working, and I would still take money from my dad. Like, but that's what it is as an Arab woman, is that, like, your dad is still feels responsible for you in every single way, whether it was like financially, emotionally, like every kind of support that you need, you would get it from your dad until you get married, no matter how old you are, so like you said, like, losing our dads in our 20s kind of really like pushed us to be self-sufficient.
Honestly, as an only child, I feel like sometimes it pushed me into his place a little bit, where I have to have my own back. I have to be the man of the house. My mom honestly, the past few years, she has done unbelievable things. She's incredibly strong, but I also feel like I want to be strong for my mom, because our moms, at the end of the day, it's our dads that decide. Like, yes, our moms are like the bosses and everything, like, in their own right, but they depend on their husbands, and we depend on our dads. And I think when you take the dad out of the equation, I'm sure, like, your sister's the eldest, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure she felt like she has to be the man of the house. I'm sure your brothers felt like all of a sudden, oh my God, they're the men of the house. And everyone probably is looking at them saying, what are you going to do as the man of the house?
Yeah.
it's such a discombobulating experience, I think, for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I'm grateful, like with my siblings, I felt like when my dad was getting treatment, we each knew we had a role.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if I told you this, but like Fatma took some time off work and she went as a murafiq. So basically she went
Chaperone.
a chaperone with my mom to help my mom. Cause like there were times where, my dad lost all motor skills as well. So my mom wasn't gonna be able to, carry him and feed him and take care of him and take him to his appointments and stuff like that. So that was Fatma's role, to kind of deal with all the paperwork and the travel and the accommodations and all of that. And then my brothers were, both of them were at school. Ali was, I think, in his last year. So he, thank God, like my dad managed to make it to his graduation. But even then, he was barely able to walk. My brother Salman actually, I think, was 21 or 22 when my dad passed. And then I was kind of like holding fort here in Kuwait
On your
and
own.
on my own. So for 7 months, 27-year-old, having to take care of this huge house, the maids, the driver, the cars, and my dad's bank account. And like, you know what I mean? Deal with all of that. And then on top of that, like I would call and be like, hey, what's going on? Cause like sometimes I'd get this feeling in my gut, I'm like, something happened. And then they would tell me a week later, they're like, we didn't want to tell you because like, we didn't want you to freak out, but like he slipped in the bathroom. And also like my dad, because he had two surgeries. One surgery was to remove, because he had a big tumor that apparently was the size of a golf ball, I think, which they removed. And then there was the glioblastoma, so it was kind of like branched out. And so when they removed the tumor, they took the scalp, the part of that, the scalp, not the scalp, sorry, the skull, and they kept it out. And usually what they're supposed to do is put it in his body so that it like when they put it back, it doesn't get infected.
Yeah.
But they had left it out. And so by the time that they like finished the surgery and they tried to put it back in his scalp or his skull, I don't know why I keep saying scalp, it got infected. And so he had to have another surgery to remove it. So up until he passed, he had a missing part of his skull. So he had a bit of a dent. And so he had to wear a helmet. So any slip, any accident was very dangerous. And they were telling him like, oh, once you finish like radiation and chemo, we'll do like a titanium skull. But he never ended up doing it. And that was something also that bothered him as well. So it was just so nerve wracking, like being here and having to go to work and pretending like everything is fine. But, all my family is there and I was here alone, and Mia's losing it. But yeah, it was tough. So it kind of like forced me to really like grow so fast. It was such a hard time. Like at the time, I was a wreck. I don't know. Like we kind of held it together. We all kind of held it together. But like I said, like we all knew we had a role to play. And the crazy thing for me is that even though he was sick, like he would always check up on me. He'd always text me and he used to call me Pumpkin. So he'd be like, Pumpkin, how are you? Because he used to always text me every day. And then slowly I noticed the texts were less and less. At first I noticed he would make a lot of typos because he was losing his motor skills. And then it started being less and less and less and less until he stopped texting. All right. Before we start bawling, what about you? How did that impact you?
My dad got COVID and within the span of a couple months, we lost him, even though he was sick again. The thing is, because my dad put such a brave front, I thought, he's not gonna die. I know my dad has cancer, but I grew up with the cancer.
Yeah.
So in a way, I think because I've normalized cancer in my head and I've accepted it so hard, and I think I am also at that point still very sheltered. I mean, at that point I was still very sheltered to how my dad could die from cancer, because again, it's like a duality, right? You know cancer can kill him, but he survived it and he's lived with it, so he's gonna be fine. He's still gonna live 10 more years, 15 more years, you know. I'm still gonna have my dad. I just never thought I would lose him this fast because of COVID. You know, I never thought, and no one ever thought, right? No one sits there and thinks, hey, my dad's gonna die in a month, even though he survived fucking cancer.
Yeah.
No one thinks some insane illness is gonna come and take your dad from you.
Yeah.
So, obviously, I've lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry.
Do you want to take 5?
Yeah. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Well, I think in my case, I moved to Kuwait after my dad died because of some personal reasons. And I had never lived in Kuwait. I've never even been to Kuwait without my dad before he passed. Like, I didn't realize still how in Kuwait you actually, in a lot of situations, you actually need a man with you.
Yeah.
You know, there are some people here who I had never encountered, and situations I had never encountered, because there are situations that are reserved more for men. And I mean, even things that you would never, I guess you would never really think were made easier for men than women.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing to me anymore. I think at the beginning, I'm not gonna lie, I was so angry. And I still have moments of anger. I still have moments of being so angry that I don't feel the same carefreeness that I did.
You feel like you look at your losing your dad self, and you feel like you're gullible, you're innocent, you're naive, and I feel like it forces you to kind of really tap into your masculine energy, because now that you've lost, even though like for me, I had brothers, my brothers are younger. Like my brother Ali is 4 years younger, Salman is 7 years younger, and there were a lot of things that I feel like because we were older, so we had to kind of like take care of, and they did help, you know, they did what they could do, but I really did feel like I had to kind of tap into my masculine as well, and be tough. That's why, like, I think when people see us, they're like, oh, ball busters. Like, I think every single girl who's lost her dad at a young age turns out to be a ball buster for this very reason.
I think, actually, when people first meet me, they don't think I'm a ball buster. They think we've said this before, like, people look at us and say we're ditzy, and I think maybe because I sound young.
I mean, you are young.
Actually, I am young.
She's like, I sound young. What are you, like a 40-year-old woman?
No, yeah. I'm
also 40 is young. Sorry, sorry, Tariq.
No, but you know what I mean. I think sometimes when you're in like a situation where you have to be like a grown up, like I sometimes feel like I've been in meeting rooms with like a bunch of middle-aged men. I'm like, I feel like I'm cosplaying. I think I'm acting like a grown up right now. I'm actually like so silly. Like, you know what I mean? But also like, no, I am a strong, independent woman that doesn't need a man. But I was pushed into that role. I was pushed into a role that I don't think my dad would have ever even expected me to be pushed in. Yeah.
And nothing prepares you for it.
That's the thing, is nothing prepares you. And you actually have no idea who you really are or what you're really capable of until you are pushed to your limits in terms of grief and losing a parent. And I mean, that's how it's impacted me. A lot of change. Yeah.
How do you feel like that impacted the evolution of the way you perceive yourself?
I feel unbreakable. Like, I feel like I am so much stronger than I ever thought I was.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm surviving this right now, I can survive anything.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's something that I always said. Like, anytime, like, you know, something happens, like if I argue with someone or if someone's like about to, like, you know, leave my life or whatever, I'm like, I lost my dad and I'm still here.
Yeah.
You think you're gonna matter?
Oh yeah.
You think you're gonna break me? Yeah. No, because like what? Like, your dad's your most valuable thing as a girl, especially as a girl, because we all know like the psychology of like, you know, girls with their dads and like boys with their moms.
Yeah.
Like, there's always this like different bond. So it really you really feel like you think you can hurt me? Like,
that's exactly it. Like, I've already lost the most valuable thing I could have lost in my life. أغلى ما فقدت to me really is my dad.
yeah.
If someone walks away, leave. The door's wide open.
But I think for me, the evolution was like, obviously, because my dad, at the end of this year, it's going to be 9 years since he's passed. But it doesn't feel like 9 years. I'm not going to lie. Like, I talk about him every single day for 9 years. I've talked about my dad every single day. I miss him every single day. But the evolution was like, at first, obviously there's this like sadness, there's this like why me, there's the anger, and then there's like the self-victimization. And then after I surpassed that, like, oh, I'm a victim, woe is me, whatever, I became like this, like, my own backbone in a way, you know what I mean? And it's something that I battled up until recently, where I was like, I'm gonna be my own father, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I also like see with a lot of my friends my girlfriends who've lost their dad. Like, I learned that from them, because we talked about this in the episode with Faye as well. We have another friend also who lost her dad, and it really like forces you to kind of like make peace with the fact that, like, okay, I'm gonna have to be a strong, independent woman, like you said. But I think my recent evolution of like the way I perceive myself is that, okay, I was forced to tap into my masculine, but then now I'm kind of finding that balance between being my own father and also, you know, being very in tune with my feminine as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think we touched on this yesterday, but we wouldn't be who we were today if we hadn't lost our dads. And I think even saying that sounds like, yeah, obviously, but it's like, no, had we not lost our dads so young and in the way that we did, I don't think we would have ever been the person we are today.
Definitely.
Maybe 100%. It would have been better, maybe it would have been worse. It's
I don't know, yeah,
unimportant.
But I do believe that it shapes us into the people that we are today.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I think honorable mention, you know, to parents, to people who've lost, girls who've lost their moms. I don't know how you guys do it. You girls are unbelievably strong, and I can't imagine. And honestly, honorable mention to those who have lost both parents. Yeah. I have two of the most amazing girls I know, Helen and Soanne, you know, who've lost both parents, and seeing them navigate being both their own mothers and fathers is something that I cannot fathom, especially because both of them are, you know, like, they lost their parents in their teens, and then their dad in their teens, and then their mom in their 20s, and unbelievable. Like, and you see the strength.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm sure. I mean, obviously losing a parent, like, you can go both, like, you can go two ways. So I've seen also some people where it consumes them and they cannot get out of the grief.
Yeah. And
the grief, yes, it's very painful.
It's all consuming.
But that's the thing, I think, where we had to learn to kind of like adapt and just move on with your life and be like, my dad wouldn't have wanted to see me like this.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have wanted to see me like so like struck with grief that I was like paralyzed. You know what I mean? So a lot of the things I do for him.
Yeah.
You know?
Same.
And I do feel like he's he's with me every step of the way. I always like kind of like talk to him, you know, from time to time.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about, well, now since we're talking about the grief, how did you deal with the loss? How did you grieve?
Really unexpected, but I dealt with listen, during COVID, we really didn't have much, guys. I'm sure you remember COVID was such a bleak time, being stuck at home as an only child, right? Like only my mom with me. Like we are both so overcome with grief that I think I had to find an outlet, and my outlet was comedy.
Yeah.
I threw myself all day long into just looking at memes to try and make myself laugh, because when I wasn't actually on the internet looking at memes, because you know I deal with grief in a way where I don't want to share that I'm sad. I actually just I like to rot in my room. That's my version of grief.
And then she explodes.
Yeah. Once every few years I will have a mental breakdown.
Every few years? Yeah.
No,
I mean, but like when you do start crying,
oh my God,
like it's so unexpected. Like
yeah,
you hold it in and then it's like vomit.
Yeah. And so
that's relatable, by the way.
I guess I know a lot of people who like to appear as like funny and fun, and they don't care. They're actually dying inside.
That's how I was in my dad's funeral. I don't know why. Like looking back at it now, like I'm not the same person, but back then I was like, I'm not gonna cry in front of people. I didn't want to cry in front of anybody, so I was just sitting there. I was like, maybe like a tear or whatever. Like I was not like bawling, crying. And I remember because I was holding it so much, I felt like a lump in my throat and it hurt.
It's like you're choking.
It's like I'm choking.
Yeah.
And I'm just holding myself together in front of all these people. And then I would go to my room. I would scream into my pillow. I was like crying, like it was insane. Like and then I remember I don't think I still am, but I was very avoidant. So I remember third day of the funeral, I was studying for a GMAT, so I was doing GMAT classes. I left and went to a GMAT class. And my mom was like, where are you going? I was like, I'm going to GMAT class because I didn't want to deal with it.
I know.
I didn't want to deal with that grief. I needed something. So I went to the GMAT class and I was wearing all black. I had no makeup, which was a first. So one of the girls who I was doing the class with looked at me and she's like, are you okay? I was like, my dad died. She was just like, she got so awkward. I was like, I'm fine. It's fine.
Yeah. I get it. Because when my dad passed, I had my LPC exams a few weeks afterwards, and you know I had to, you know, my friends found out, so they emailed the I don't know what you call them, whatever, the person that is responsible for like the mental health, whatever. It's the UK, they really care about your mental health. And she's like, hey, do you want to postpone? I'm like, no, because the LPC basically is the legal practice course to qualify as a solicitor in the UK. It's such an intense course. It is I think it's a ward and a master's, so it's hardcore. It's 1 year of your life that you just, it's nonstop slaughter. Really, it's an onslaught of pain and suffering. And it was the perfect thing. I was like, no, I'm gonna ace these. I aced every single exam. I passed with such phenomenal colors.
I wish I aced the GMAT. I had a mental breakdown. I started, like I was studying for the GMAT for months. I was so prepared because I was doing test exams. And that's actually when I got the call. I was doing so every Friday or something, I would go to a coffee shop. I would put all my my phone on silent and everything, and I would just do a practice exam to prepare for the GMAT. That day, I just felt something, and then halfway through the GMAT, I got a call, or the test exam that I was doing, I got a call from my mom, and I just knew, and she was like, "Come to the hospital quick." So, anyways, so when I did the actual GMAT, I think, I don't know, maybe subconsciously, I had tied it with that moment. And so I was sitting there in that room, and it was so small and confined, and halfway through the exam I just gave up and I started what is it called, hyperventilating. And I was like, fuck this, and I just started putting random answers because I just wanted to get out of there.
we couldn't have had a more different experience.
I know.
I was either rotting in my bed on the phone to another friend of mine who lost her dad, so she was just listening to me cry silently or just be silent, or looking at memes, or studying. That was all I was doing. And in saying that, though, you guys, I know it's you're hearing such different experiences. There's really no right or wrong way.
No.
You just
grieving is very unique too, and that's the thing is like with because obviously I think everybody knows by now I have 3 siblings.
Do you have family?
I have family.
Wow.
Yeah. Did you know I have a sister?
Never.
Nobody knew.
Never spoke about it ever. Fatma who?
Fatma who? Ali who? Salman who?
Never heard of these people.
Shout out my family.
She's lying. Shout out family.
But
hi mom.
Hi mom.
Guys, we're grieving right now.
We're literally, but that's the thing I think that a lot of people are weird about. We're going to touch about this later. Is that like, how do you go from like crying one second to like making jokes the next? But that's a coping mechanism. Yeah.
That's what pulled me out.
Not just a coping mechanism, like you just learn because you've made so much peace with the grief that it's okay with you. Like and I think it's very healthy as well. But yeah, all my siblings, we grieved in a very different way. So unfortunately, for a long period of time, it kind of separated us. So where we were, when my dad was sick, we were all kind of like one unit.
Yeah.
And we knew we had to all stay strong to kind of like get past this. And then when my dad passed, one of my friends actually told my sister, she was like, and this is going to sound controversial, but I'm going to explain it now. She was like, you guys look relieved. Because he suffered for 2 years, and I was like, because he's in a better place, because that he's no longer suffering, and also being a caregiver or caretaker of also like, yeah, the anticipation. Because my dad, so
sorry, I just cut you off by the way.
No, it's fine. But like, because when we were in the US, he was in Baltimore, Johns Hopkins, getting treatment. And then the doctor, because my mom told the doctor, she was like, if there's no hope, you tell me, because I need to take him back home so he could see his family and say goodbye to them. So lucky for me, I was there at that time. I was visiting for a week, because like any chance I would get, I would go. I was there for the week. It was me, my sister, and my brother Ali. And then the doctor calls us. He's like, I need to have a meeting with you guys. I need to get your mom on a call. And then he told us, he was like, he has 2 weeks minimum to 2 months maximum. I know. That was, I think, the first time where I was bawling uncontrollably. I was crying uncontrollably. And so we brought him back to Kuwait. My dad survived a year.
Fighter.
He fought for an entire year. And that year was hell for us, because we saw him deteriorate, and every single phone call was like, oh my God, something happened. Oh my God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was such a tough year. So I think that's where the relief came from, because nobody knows how strong, because you can't grieve someone who's still alive.
No.
He's there. Your entire focus is on making that person comfortable. Yeah.
It's like, it's so right now that you don't really have the capability or the mental,
and you're not processing all of this. Like for 2 years, so much happened we didn't process. So when he passed, me and my siblings all kind of like separated, and we were all grieving in our own separate way. And I didn't realize the impact that it had on us until like years later, where we were all kind of like okay to talk about it. So now like today, like me and my sister will like talk about him, and we'll share moments and memories, and we'll cry about it. And you know what I mean? Like it's a more healthier way to like grieve, I guess.
Yeah, I think as an only child, I think I envy that a lot. Like I do wish I could talk about what it's like to lose my dad as my dad's child, because my mom's point of view is widely different. You know, she was his wife for 31 years,
and I can't even imagine that, losing your partner.
I know. We you know, we still aren't used to him being gone. Obviously he's only been gone for 4 years, which for some people 4 years is such a long time, but in the reality you blink and it's been 4 years, you know. And it's gonna be the 4th year in May.
May?
Yeah. May the 4th. May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th.
Yeah. But I do want to say, whatever way you want to grieve, you gotta grieve. You gotta just lean into it. If something looks wild to someone else, who cares? I mean, what made me realize that because I was rotting in bed for 2 weeks. What pulled me out really was seeing a meme of a girl on Facebook basically saying, my dad just brought me McDonald's, and another girl responds to it saying, oh well, my dad's dead, and then someone responds to it saying, well, no McDonald's for you. Wild. But in that moment, I burst out laughing. I laughed. That was the first time I laughed in those 2 weeks uncontrollably until I started sobbing.
Yeah.
And I realized, I was like, hey, this is making me feel something. And it's okay to like find things funny and sad at the same time.
Well, I mean, nobody's getting McDonald's now because we're boycotting them.
No McDonald's,
no McDonald's
ever again
for anyone.
Ever again.
All right, let's talk about. I mean, we touched on it earlier, but people who haven't lost a parent and the way
the discomfort.
So yeah, we were talking about this recently, actually, you and I, because something actually happened where you, me, and another girl who's lost a parent, and we had another person who hadn't lost both her parents. Allah يطول بعمرهم. And we were like, we made a joke,
which we do. When you lose your parent, you automatically, like, at some point start making jokes to make it more casual and comfortable for people.
And you realize that not everyone's comfortable. Like, I realize even like when I bring him up, when I just say, oh, my dad used to do this, oh, my dad, like a memory, because for me it's normal because I'm trying to keep his memory alive. But then people are like,
blank,
she's talking about her dead dad. What do we do? She's talking about her dead dad. And they get so awkward. And that's why it's more comfortable talking to people who've lost a parent, because
they know how to act.
They know how to act. It's very normal. And so, and I don't want to be like, oh, like non mourners, like you guys don't get it. But I think in saying this, like, we kind of want to maybe shed some light on how to approach these situations. If you're someone who are fortunate enough to have both your parents, like if you know someone who's lost a parent, I think just when they share stories about their parents, engage, don't pity. Pity is the worst thing ever. I hate when people are like they look at you like,
so that's uncomfortable. I like it when people make jokes, when people like ask me more about him. Like, don't apologize for asking. Like, he's my dad. Like, I want to talk about him all day long. Like, are you kidding me?
Don't apologize. Like, oh, I'm sorry that he's dead. Like,
he's gone now.
He's gone.
Don't apologize.
You know, like, actually, like, ask me about him. Ask me how he was. Like, things like that. And the worst is like when the dumb shit that people say, like when I lost my dad, someone was like, oh, but you knew he was sick.
I mean, we talked about this before. I was on the phone and someone was like, "Oh, you sound okay." Well, I don't know you that well, and you're calling me to for condolences. Would you want me to cry? Do you want the show? Like, please shut up.
Or like like, I don't know. They try to help you, especially like when you had just lost a parent, and they try to say things to like help you grieve, and it's just not. It does not help at all.
I would honestly rather someone, if it just happened, like, you know, I'm sorry for your loss, and then honestly, if you either ask me how I'm doing, or obviously I'm going to say I'm bad, but you can ask me what you can do if you feel comfortable. You know, hey, is there anything I can do? Like, these are nice enough messages. Let's not gloss over it, because I also think when people fully gloss over it, it's awkward. I think there's such a fine line between glossing over and making it casual, but at the end of the day, it is something that most people will experience in their lifetime.
I mean, it also, like, especially if it's fresh, like being like do you need anything? I don't know what I need. You know what I mean? Right now, like, just keep that door open. Be like, if you need anything, I'm here. Assure that person that you're there. And I think, like,
is there anything I can do though? I don't actually mind it. Because I'll be like, no, thank
you. That's
you.
true too. Like, is there anything that I can do? But I remember one of my really, really, really close friends lost his mom also during COVID, and that moment unfortunately brought us closer. We were close before, but it really brought us closer because he had expressed to me that he couldn't talk about it with our other friends because they would just look at him in pity.
Yeah, that's horrific.
And they get so awkward. And he found comfort in the things that I would tell him. So I would tell him things like, you're never going to stop missing her. You're just going to adapt. You're going to adapt to life without her. And it's going to get a little easier, but the hurt is not going to go away. The grief is going to be there. You're always going to miss her, and she's always going to be with you. So he found so much comfort in me telling him that. And I think because I know what it feels like to lose a parent, so I kind of knew what to say.
I have a question. Do you have a quote that helped you get through, or that you still remember? Because I this is so corny, but obviously, like,
Yeah,
in the grief, you sort of look for something someone says or quote into that will help you understand grief.
I did, actually. So there's a quote that I saw like months after my dad passed, and it came at the perfect time, and I felt like I needed to hear it. It was by Billy Bob Thornton, and he, I think, lost his twin brother or his brother, and he said something. This quote really impacted me so much, and to this day, like, I still remember it and I quote it. But basically he said, there's a melancholy in me that never goes away. I'm 50% happy and 50% sad at any given moment. And the only advice I can give people for when you lose someone like that is you won't ever get over it. And the more you know that and embrace it, the better off you are. And that is exactly how I feel to this day.
That goes hand in hand, I think, with the relief as well.
Yeah.
Because there's a relief in knowing that you will always be sad, and there's not gonna come a day where you're not gonna miss your parent.
Yeah.
There just isn't. If you had a good relationship with them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I had a great relationship with my dad. He was an amazing father. Allah yarhamah. Like, he truly was an amazing person. Like, anyways, what about you? Your quote?
Mine is a lot less complex. It's and now I have to remember you for longer than I have known you.
Yeah. That one cuts deep, because I think that's something that we talked about as well, is like the hurt now comes from, like, when you go through certain moments and you're like, oh, I wish he was here to see this. Oh, I wish he could see me now. Like, and I told you this recently, where I am not the same person I was like 8 years ago when I lost my dad. So I wish he could see the woman that I am today. And I wonder.
And that's what I think. That's why when we talk about people who've lost a parent getting it, is because we know better than anyone that it's not right after the loss that you need the whole world. It's for the rest of your life. I mean, my dad never saw me, graduate from my LPC. I didn't even go to my graduation because I just didn't want to. I didn't want to look at the crowd and not see my dad there. It felt too real. New Year's, birthdays, my dad's never gonna see me reach the age of 30. Like, God,
that was hard. My 30th birthday, I was bawling because
it's such a milestone. He's never gonna meet your husband. He's never gonna touch your bump. He's never gonna meet your kid. And I think it's such a forever process of mourning, because you will go through life, inshallah. May we all have long lives, and these milestone moments that you take for granted with your parents, and not having them there, it slaps you all over again.
That's why I remember my cousin once was arguing with her parents, and I looked at her and I was like, appreciate them, live every single moment like that you can with them. I was like, like, just let things slide. And that's why, like, even with my mom now, like, like, I always remember that, like, she's my only surviving parent, so I just want to do good by her, because I want to cherish every single moment that I have left with her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't know when the last time you're gonna see their name on your phone is gonna be, and even that is devastating. And I think, like, at the end of the day, it's the things like, will we remember their laugh when we're 80 years old? Will we remember the veins on their hands, the sunspots on their faces? They're such small things that, we have to remember you for longer than we've known you. And what a gift it is to have loved you and gotten your love. Yeah. Even if it means we have to mourn you for the rest of our lives. We're thankful we had such amazing dads.
That's literally what I always say. Anyways, it was a very different episode, you guys. I hope it helped anyone out there who's lost a parent or who knows someone who's lost a parent,
if you have, send this to them. This may help them. Watch this. I mean, I hope we're adding value in the sense that we're maybe telling you guys how it is for those who haven't lost a parent, and for those who have, everything you're feeling is completely valid.
Yeah. All right, you guys, we'll see you next week, hopefully with a lighter subject.
Yeah.
And like, comment, subscribe.
And if you don't leave a bad review, because we need the good reviews.
Leave a review. My dead dad haunt you.
We don't have enough reviews. Leave it. Yeah. Leave a review or else our dead dads are haunting all of you.
All right, you guys. Bye. Bye.